students. Class is in session.
Hello students, and welcome back to Clever Fox Academy. I'm Professor Volpes, and today's lesson subject is science, more specifically, anthropology.
Anthropology!
Just a little over a year ago, on March 20th, 2020, Nintendo released Animal Crossing: New Horizons for the Nintendo Switch. The game was an instant hit, quickly becoming the best-selling title in the entire Animal Crossing franchise. The game revolves around the player developing and settling a deserted island by using the materials found on the island. As the player develops the island, more people come to settle the island. I very much enjoy this game myself and have put several dozen hours into developing my own island, but while playing this game, I started thinking, could I possibly do this in real life? So that's what I've set out to answer today. And I'd like to take you along for the ride. Though I will say ahead of time, this particular topic isn't really my strongest subject, but I made sure to do as much research as I could, and I'm going to present to you everything I found out to the absolute best of my ability. So with that disclaimer out of the way, let's get started. Here are your key terms for this lesson. Settle, to move with a group of others to live in a new country or area. Trade, the act of buying and selling goods and services. Got all that? Then let's begin. The idea of settling an island is certainly not a new one. Most of the world's islands have been populated by humans for thousands of years. This first started over 3,000 years ago when the settlers from the Pacific traversed the ocean and landed on islands such as Tonga, Samoa, and Hawaii. The ancient Polynesians would use the sun, stars, ocean currents, and even the clouds, a process called wayfinding, to navigate across the ocean, thus prompting the Polynesians from Southeast Asia to settle islands all over the Pacific Ocean. It's amazing to think that these people were able to cross entire oceans without the use of modern navigation technologies like a compass or a GPS. So, let's say that you were doing some wayfinding of your own, and you just so happened to stumble on a deserted island. Could you live there? Could you make it your own? Can you have a place where you can lead and make your own rules and answer to no one? Can you truly live like they do in Animal Crossing? Well, let's find out, shall we? Before you think about making your new island country, you need to be sure that you can survive on an island that hasn't been developed yet. The very first thing to do after getting to the island is to find a source of fresh water. According to Survive Nature, finding a freshwater source is absolutely top priority when it comes to island survival, as humans can go for weeks without food, but can only survive about 4 days without fresh water. Finding a stream, river, or waterfall would be the most ideal, but there are a few other methods of obtaining water, such as collecting rain and making a solar water still. Once you have a method of obtaining a sustainable supply of drinking water, you'll need to build a shelter and a fire. Once you've succeeded with that, it's time to find food. Now, since you're on an island, your best bet for food would be to scout for fish in the shallow water surrounding the island. However, let's say that hypothetically you landed on a tropical island. You'd likely be able to find a few kinds of tropical fruits growing around the island, such as mangoes, pineapples, and coconuts. So let's say that this hypothetical island that you've landed on is a lot like the islands in New Horizons. It's got a few sources of fresh water, plenty of fish to catch, and lots of trees full of nutrient-packed fruit. Sounds like the island is pretty survivable, yes? Well, not quite. It's very important to take note of possibly dangerous wildlife on the island. Even a family-friendly game like Animal Crossing includes an element of danger, much like the real world does. In the Hawaiian Islands, the land and surrounding seas are inhabited by large sharks, venomous centipedes, dangerous jellyfish, and even deadly sea snails. Though some islands can also be home to creatures like snakes and big predatory cats. Alright, so let's say that this hypothetical island of yours has plenty of fresh water, lots of edible food, and you're fairly certain that the local wildlife won't tear you to pieces. You decide that since there's no one else here, you want to claim this island for yourself. But can you really do that? Well, the answer is, kinda. Here, let me explain. In order to make your own country, you'll need to own the land, which is going to be a tad difficult when it comes to an island. According to World Island Info, there are no islands that aren't owned by another country. However, that doesn't exactly mean that all hope is lost. There are dozens of islands for sale around the world that you can buy for a few $100,000. In fact, for those of you that watch a lot of YouTube, you may have seen someone do this already. Popular YouTuber Jimmy Donaldson, better known as Mr. Beast, purchased a private island for a video that he uploaded on August 13th, 2020. While Mr. Beast may be the landowner for the island known as Jeff,
My name is Jeff.
it's actually an island in the Bahamas known as Golden Cay. So, if you have a bunch of money just lying around, you could conceivably just outright buy a whole island. So, let's pretend that you were successfully able to purchase the island from its parent country. Well, now you need people to live there. Depending on the size of your island, you may need to invite more than just your friends and family. However, you'll need to make sure that your island sounds appealing to your potential settlers. Make sure to highlight all of the positive aspects of the island, like Gregor McGregor, yes that was his real name, did with his country Poyet in 1822. He proudly boasted that his country was a paradise where the land was fertile and gold flowed in the rivers. He enticed 250 people to come and settle the land. Of course, it all turned out to be a scam, and the country was actually a hazardous jungle, which led to the deaths of 180 of the 250 settlers, but you get the idea. Now that you have people living on the island full-time, it's time to declare your independence, since your island still technically belongs to someone else. If by some miracle you gain independence and avoid a war, then great! You're on your way to becoming a full-fledged country. You'll need to gain recognition from other nations in the world, and a good way of doing so is by joining the United Nations. To do this, you'll need to send an application letter and a declaration that you'll follow the United Nations Charter to the UN Secretary General. The application is then passed to the Security Council, where it will need 9 out of 15 affirmative votes. If that is achieved, then the application is passed to the General Assembly. If the application receives 2/3 majority vote, then congratulations! You are now part of the United Nations. One additional note, you'll also need to make sure you know exactly where your island's ocean boundaries are. No single entity owns the oceans, however, a country can claim up to 12 nautical miles from its shores as its territory, so make sure you map that out. Now that you have your settlers and you're an independent country, the last step is to build your economy. And the root of economy is trade. You'll need to establish a currency, either an existing one or by making up one of your own. In order to establish trade partners, you'll need to be able to offer something of value that your partners will believe they will be better off for having. So what can your new country offer to the world? Well, if your island is anything like Animal Crossing, you'll have plenty of fish, probably sea bass. But since this island is hypothetical, let's say that it also has a rare tropical fruit found nowhere else in the world, and there actually is gold flowing in the rivers. And there you have it! The island is now a thriving new country, and you rule the roost. Now, to reiterate, this is all hypothetical, and the chances of this being possible are slim to none. But now you have some idea of what it would take to make an island country. It's a lot easier to do it in a video game. Now, I'll be honest and say that economics and anthropology are not my strongest area of expertise, so if there is anything that I missed, please let me know in the comments below with your sources. Also, a big thank you to my friend Victor Suezo for helping me fact-check this script. Well, class, that is the end of today's lesson. Thank you all so much for tuning in. If you need further assistance, you can find me during my office hours. Your homework is to like this video, leave a comment, subscribe to the channel, and share your notes with all your friends. And above all, learn something new every day. Have a great day, students, and until next time, class dismissed.